Welcome to the home of authoritative news coverage. Thank you for making time. Let's get you informed. Now, authorities in Narok County have arrested 3 people, including Lolgorian Ward MCA Michael Oleseme, over the escalating land clashes in Angata Barikoi area, Transmara South. Police say they're still pursuing more suspects accused of fueling the communal clashes, pitting the Maasai and Kipsigis communities. More than 1,800 residents have been displaced from their homes, forcing the government to deploy additional police to quell the skirmishes. And as Vera Mora now reports, displaced families have sought shelter in schools, dispensaries, and open fields.
For several days now, women and children have been forced to make this school their makeshift home after their houses were reduced to ashes. Villages were torched during deadly land clashes between Maasai and Kipsigis communities in Angata Barakoi, Transmara.
Tulikuja hapa, serikali hajasaidia sisi, watoto hakuna kitu wanakula. Tumewacha mahindi kwa huko yamechomeka na nyumba. Saa hii tunalia, hakuna kitu tunakula. Watoto naenda kurokota tu mahindi kwa hapa, anabea watoto. Hakuna kitu nitakula. Serikali papa atasaidia sisi.
Kia serikali nasema rudi. Sasa tunarudi wapi? Sasa tunapika chakula ya watoto na watoto hakuna. Hakuna watoto. Wamazaa wamekuwa kali. Sasa hata watoto wa shule hatujui tutafungua shule kupeleka pesa wapi.
Sasa tunateseka, tuko kwa shule. Sisi hatuna makao yetu. Manyumba sote zimechomeka. Tunalilia serikali. Watu wa Red Cross walikuja juzi akatuambia tunakuja kusaidia nyinyi. Na hakuna hiyo msaidizi. Serikali saidia sisi kabisa, tumekufa na njaa.
The clashes have left 7 people dead, with Kenya Red Cross confirming more than 1,800 people displaced and 253 households destroyed. Families now crowd into schools, dispensaries and open fields.
Wametuchomea manyumba, tuna manguo, hata hatuna kenye tunakula.
Sasa hatuna mashamba, tumechoma manyumba zetu, tunaishi mabitoni.
Hata mahindi amechoma.
Mahindi tumekuliwa na
Authorities, however, say they are responding, and so far, Lolgorian Ward Member of County Assembly Michael Oleseme has been arrested along with 2 others for allegedly being involved in the communal clashes. Police have also confirmed that more suspects are being sought and will face charges in court.
Kuanzia leo tutapeana ulinzi throughout. Usiku na mchana tutapeana ulinzi, na ndio maana tumeongeza maaskari.
Additional security personnel have now been deployed to restore calm after the Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat announced a dusk to dawn curfew last evening.
By 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. we will not allow people to walk around until order and peace is sustained in this particular area. So nawaonya vikali sana our watu, those who are advancing criminal activities, that from today they better surrender.
The clashes in Transmara have been fueled by land disputes and cattle rustling between the 2 communities. Children, women and the elderly now face hunger, cold nights and uncertainty. Angata Barakoi is crying out for justice, for peace and for leadership. The question tonight is not whether the people will survive, but whether those in power will finally act and stop the escalating violence. Vera Mora, KTN.
Moving on, the broad-based government appears to be standing on shaky ground as infighting within ODM party threatens the ODM-UDA union. Members of the party are split on ethnic lines, with a section of those from Western region issuing demands that the 10-point agenda agreed upon between the late Raila Odinga and President William Ruto must be implemented before the next election. A section of their allies from Nyanza region have, however, dared those dissatisfied with the current arrangement to leave the party, as Jeff Kirui now details.
Barely 2 years to the 2027 polls, the union between President William Ruto and the late Raila Odinga that birthed the broad-based government framework is facing turbulence. The union currently embroiled in infighting that is now threatening to split the party along ethnic lines. A section of stalwarts within the rank and file of the party from Western Region have demands that must be met to continue with the union between ODM and UDA party.
Wale vijana ambao waliuawa kwa maandamano, hiyo points agenda inasema kwamba hawa vijana wakuwe compensated, family zao. Wale ambao wako kwa jela mpaka sasa watolewe jela. Wale ambao wako na court cases zitolewe. Hiyo yote haijafanyika na watu bado wanasema broad base.
However, these demands have rattled some of their counterparts from Luo Nyanza who have come out to defend the broad-based union.
Sisi huko Nyanza, sisi wote tumeingia kwa William Ruto. Sababu huko ndio baba alisema tuingie. Hakuna Mjaluo hawezi pigia Ruto kura. Wote wanapigia Ruto kura.
Chama cha ODM ni chama cha wananchi. Nyinyi ndio wenye kuamua. Wakati ambapo mnataka chama kiende left, mnasema left. Mkitaka right, mnaenda right. Viongozi wako hapa wengi. Kama katibu wenu na deputy party leader yuko hapa, ule mtu ambaye inasemekana ameuziwa ODM, ujue umegongwa.
You will not dare tell us to leave the ODM party. We are in ODM to stay. Because we have invested.
So tense is the situation that Luhya elders have had to intervene, calling for the unity of the Nyanza and Western region, amid talk that the Western region leaders in ODM are reconsidering their stay in the party.
Why can't we work together with our brothers in Lowland in matters of economy, even in politics? That's why we had this meeting.
Since March this year, when the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President William Ruto signed the cooperation agreement founded on the 10-point agenda, no progress has been made. This despite the committee overseeing its implementation and that of NADCO report having held a series of meetings with stakeholders and experts of various sectors involved. President William Ruto is upbeat to rally the support of ODM party behind his re-election bid. The head of state has seemingly been keen to inherit Raila Odinga's political bases, with the infighting threatening not just the existence of the 20-year-old political party, but his chances to smoothly defend for a second term in office.
Chama ya ODM, lazima mujipange, musimame imara. Tunataka a strong ODM, ndio tuweze kupanga mambo ya uongozi wa Kenya pamoja.
Support of Raila Odinga in Nyanza, in Western, in Coast is not transferable. It is not transferable. It is earned. You must earn it.
Jeff Kirui, KTN.
In related news, the Orange Democratic Movement Party is calling for a pre-election pact with the Kenya Kwanza coalition ahead of the 2027 general election. During a visit to condole with the family of former Lugari Member of Parliament Cyrus Jirongo, top leaders pushed for additional state positions in the government as a condition to work with President William Ruto in the coming election. Winfrey Owino reports on the activities by the leaders in Kakamega earlier today.
A section of the Orange Democratic Movement's senior leadership spent the better part of Sunday in Kakamega County to give condolences to the deceased United Democratic Party leader Cyrus Jirongo's family a week after his passing in a fatal road accident. And here, they also used this opportunity to play politics. Led by the party's national chairperson, Gladys Wanga, they described the former minister and Lugari Member of Parliament as a political friend who was not shy about his polygamous life.
Uchaguzi uliopita, yeye alikuwa ana support baba na alikuwa mtu ya baba mpaka dakika ya mwisho.
Hautaona watu wanajitokeza ati mimi pia nilikuwa kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe aliwatambua.
Hata huyu jamaa ambaye amesimama mbele yenu pia na yeye alisaidiwa na Jirongo.
They used the opportunity to push their political agenda, reaffirming their support for the broad-based government. They, however, want more state positions after the general election through a pre-election pact.
Sisi kama chama tujikaze, tujiunde, tukae ngumu, tukae kwa grassroots, tukuje kwa meza. Wale wengine wakuje kwa meza. Lazima tujue ni nini iko ndani ya hii.
Kama hatujapigia kura, ndio umetupatia 6. Saa hii kama wanataka kura chetu cha ODM ya 2027, lazima waweke vitu kwa meza. Watuambie wanapatia sisi ngapi. Lazima watu wazungumuze.
Kiongea juu ya broad base, ongea juu ya 10 points agenda. Hawa ni kama wale watoto mapacha wamezaliwa wameshikana. Ukitaka kutoa mmoja, pengine mmoja atakufa ama wote wakufe.
Following the death of Raila Odinga in October, the party's unity has been facing a test, with senior leadership speaking different languages but maintaining that the party is united.
Hata tukiongea mambo ya 2027, we must be consulted on every step that the party takes.
Nataka kuwaomba tuungane kama chama. Wanachama wote ni wanachama wa Raila.
Winfrey Owino, KTN.
Still with politics, the united opposition is faulting President William Ruto for making new promises instead of delivering the existing pledges. The leaders, including Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, faulted President Ruto's new agenda of Kenya becoming another Singapore without realizing all his 2022 pledges. Speaking during a church service in Kiambu County, the leaders said their agenda remains to make President Ruto a one-term leader and that they will not be distracted from holding the government to account. Listen in.
Badala ya kutoa scorecard yake, wanafanya sasa manifesto ingine, kwa sababu na hasla imeanguka. Hakuna kitu inaitwa hasla tena. Ilikuwa ni hasla versus dynasties. Alafu bottom up economics. Hakuna mtu anaelewa ni kitu gani bottom up. Ni wale watu wanaenda kwa baa wanaweka kichupa chini juu chini. Bottom up haifanyi kazi. Sasa wenyewe wakasema tulete mambo ya Singapore. Hatutakaa kitako, tutatoa kwa nguvu zote ambazo Mungu anaweza akatupatia. Kusema tunapinga, na sisi sio wapinzani, sisi ni government in waiting.
Ile timu umesikia tunaunda ya united opposition, kuna njama ya kujaribu kutugawanya, lakini tunajua ya kwamba hatutakubali kugawanyika. Tutashikana hadi mwisho na tutaungana, tutoe mtu mmoja atakayepeleka Kasongo wapi? Nyumbani. Na hiyo tunasema ni round 1 na ni one term.
Unajua power must be checked. Na rais nguvu zake zinaangaliwa na bunge. Sasa hivi bunge inaangalia nguvu za rais. Hata hawaongopi. Hila nyingi inatembea pale ni hongo, wakati hoja za bunge zinapita na inakuwa ni kama wananchi hawajawakilishwa.
Now, similar sentiments have been shared by Safina Party leader Jimmy Wanjigi, who has punched holes in the Kenya Kwanza Singapore agenda, terming it a false development narrative. Speaking in Kiambu, Wanjigi said such an agenda cannot pass at a time when the government is consumed by corruption and huge public debt. He said the Kenya Kwanza government must focus on delivering its pledges to Kenyans.
You have 598 days left to the general election of 2027. Before you start telling us mambo ya Singapore na sijui first world, simuanushe hii kitu from 7% even to 20%, then you start telling us about another future. Mukamilishe kazi. How can you be at 7% with 600 or so days left? That is a shame. That is a shame. Let us deal with reality. This time, Kenyans are not going to joke. Na watacheza na mtu hapa. We want deliverables. We don't want ndomo.
Well, it's the weekend before Christmas, but the festive fever seems to have taken a beating from the biting economic winter. At Nairobi's country bus station, the usual holiday roar has been reduced to a mere whisper, at least for now, while the few who can afford the trip up country find themselves trapped in a 7-hour gridlock along the busy Nairobi-Nakuru highway. Kenha is pointing the finger at driver indiscipline. Our reporter, Marion Barasa, with the details.
Kelele za makondakta na utingo waliokuwa wakisaka wasafiri wa kuelekea sehemu za
Well, apologies for that small mix-up. Marion Barasa will definitely inform you shortly about the travel arrangements and the gridlock that has been witnessed in various roads as Kenyans head up country for the festivities. To another story, concerns are mounting over the arrest of a Turkish refugee in Kenya by the anti-terrorism police unit, with rights groups warning that the move could violate international refugee law. Amnesty International and the Law Society of Kenya now fear the government could be acting under pressure from the Turkish government. Our reporter, Sophia Ali, tells us more.
On Saturday, 42-year-old Mustafa Gungor was arrested by officers drawn from the anti-terrorism police unit at Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway terminus. He had just arrived from Mombasa with his family. According to Amnesty International Kenya, Gungor is a registered refugee recognized by both the United Nations and the government of Kenya. The organization insists that Gungor has lived in the country peacefully for more than a decade.
Mr. Gungor is not a politician. He is not a political activist. He's actually a teacher. He came to this country as a teacher. He was validly registered as on a work permit, and then given the situation back home, he applied for asylum, which he was granted after vetting. And as you know, Kenya takes a long time to actually give that status. So we assume that due diligence was done.
Amnesty says officers first attempt to trace Gungor at his former residence before arresting him a day later.
6 of them were taken to the anti-terrorism police unit at headquarters at Upper Hill, and on arrival, the 5 members of his family were released, leaving Mr. Gungor still in their custody.
The basis of the arrest, according to his lawyers, is a Facebook post Gungor allegedly reposted in 2018, linking him to the Gulen movement. The Gulen movement is a global education and social movement founded by Turkish cleric Fethullah Gulen. While Turkey labels it as a terrorist organization, it is not listed as such by the United Nations.
It is not a criminal enterprise, and even that comment that was retweeted, it does not form the basis of any known offense in Kenya. It does not.
The Law Society of Kenya warns that Kenya risks violating both its constitutional and international obligations by detaining or repatriating a recognized refugee.
Comes within the reference of asylum are what should be of great concern to Kenya, not Turkey. The state that granted the asylum is not Turkey. And so even the request from Turkey is in bad taste, especially when the person who is the subject of this request primarily is running away from the person who is making the request.
The Gulen movement, in which Gungor is linked, has been a thorn in the flesh of President Erdogan, who blamed its leader Fethullah Gulen for the 2016 coup attempt. Beyond his political influence, Fethullah Gulen was also an investor with footprint in education and media. The Turkish Light Academies in Kenya are linked to his establishments. His media company Samanyulo was behind a local media house whose ownership has since changed. He died in 2024, but his movement seems to be causing jitters in the Erdogan's political system. Sophia Ali, KTN.
All right, as we take a short commercial break right here on Checkpoint, let's take you through what Kenya's bull newspaper, The Standard, will be leading with tomorrow. The headline, as you'll shortly see on your screens, is all to do with that spate of insecurity in Transmara, where families have been displaced as up to 7 people have lost their lives in the renewed clashes in that particular area. And as you can see on your screens, the headline, Transmara bleeds. It's all to do with the bloody conflict. No Christmas cheer for nearly 2,000 people displaced from their homes as of yesterday. 7 slaughtered in a country that boasts of a constitution whose spirit is to protect human life and property. Reports from Transmara West and South remain an ugly blot on the beauty of the region's fertile valleys, year-round rainfall and river networks. Rather than contribute grain to the nation's granaries, the naturally endowed lands are instead wreaking bloodletting, uprooting of families, hate and deep-seated tensions where tribe holds grudge against tribe. Pages 4 and 5 have more details, but we have a pictorial of the devastating aftermath of that ongoing communal clash in Transmara West and South, where hundreds of families have been forced to shelter and seek safety in nearby school classrooms. And John Ngeno, the Angata Barikoi AIC pastor, is quoted saying, "As church leaders, we agreed to suspend all Christmas festivities. It would be insensitive to celebrate while families are mourning loved ones and others remain displaced." That's what tomorrow's edition of Kenya's Bold newspaper has in store for you. Do make sure you grab yourself a copy. We take a short break. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back to the broadcast. This is Checkpoint. Thank you for staying with us. Let's relook at that story on the Christmas travel. It's the weekend before Christmas, but the festivities fever seems to have taken a beating from the biting economic winter. At Nairobi's country bus station, the usual holiday roar has been reduced to a mere whisper, at least for now, while the few who can afford the trip up country find themselves trapped in a 7-hour gridlock along the busy Nairobi-Nakuru highway. Kenha is pointing the finger at driver indiscipline. Our reporter Marion Barasa has the details.
The usual chorus of tout screaming Western Onyanza has today been replaced by a hollow silence. These buses that should be cruising towards Eldoret or Kisumu are sitting idle, their engines cold.
Watu waendi nyumbani, tulipanda gari saa moja, hakuna abiria hapa. Tunakaa mpaka saa hii. Pesa hakuna hii Kenya. Tumekaa mpaka saa 9, saa 7 saa hii. Hakuna abiria ndani. Magari hata ukiangalia hapa ndani yote, hakuna abiria. Hakuna pesa. Sasa itabidi tupumzike tu. Tungoje masaa majioni, tutaenda nyumbani.
The math simply doesn't add up for many. As one city tout puts it, while the heart is already up country, the cash remains out of reach. For many would-be travelers, the high cost of living has effectively grounded their holiday plans even before they could pack a bag.
As in hii festive, nothing to smile. There's nothing to smile about kwa sababu fare iko juu, watu wameboeka, activities ziko very low. Unaona vile watu wa idle. Watu wengine wako stranded because of the fare. So we appeal for the government at least to do something. Because on the ground, things are not good.
But for those who can afford the fare, financial ability has been no guarantee of arrival. The Nairobi-Nakuru highway has reached a breaking point. Congestion has turned into total paralysis, with Nyanza and western-bound travelers documenting delays exceeding 7 hours. The buses expected back in the capital to pick the next shift of travelers are nowhere to be seen, swallowed by the traffic congestion, leaving the few passengers waiting in Nairobi further stranded in a cycle of delays. In a bid to restore order, the Kenya National Highways Authority has issued a stern advisory. Kenha wishes to notify motorists traveling between Nairobi and Nakuru that there has been a significant increase in traffic volumes. Kenha attributes the chaos to a significant surge in traffic volume, but lays the blame squarely on a lack of courtesy, citing lane indiscipline and overlapping as the primary triggers for the standstill. As the sun sets on what should have been the busiest day of the year, the reality is clear for many. Christmas this year won't be under a village tree, but under the harsh lights of a city they cannot afford to leave. Marion Barasa, KTN.
Well, for those who are traveling up country for the festivities, safe travels. On to matters education now, and Principal Secretary for Basic Education, Julius Bitok, now says the Ministry of Education is aware that some parents are not satisfied with the recent school placement that was unveiled on Friday. In a statement released this afternoon, PS Bitok is attributing this to competition and the limited spaces in the available public schools. He also blames what he terms as misaligned communication between parents, learners, and heads of institutions on selected schools and variances between selected pathways and assessment outcomes. He also says a 7-day window will be opened from Tuesday to allow review for the placements for those who may need it. Parents across the country have been up in arms over the placement of their children, with some alleging that their children have been placed in day schools that are far away from their homes or residences. Moving on, the government has kicked off the distribution of 1.5 million bags of fertilizer and seeds to farmers in the North Rift region. 200,000 bags have already been delivered to the National Cereals and Produce Board depot in Eldoret. Principal Secretary for Agriculture, Dr. Kiprono Rono, says the early delivery aims to ensure farmers are fully prepared for the upcoming planting season. Fertilizer vouchers have been issued to farmers, with 351 collection points remaining operational during the Christmas period. KEBS has certified the fertilizer as well.
We've gone through this big depot, which is key for this particular region, and already we have over 200,000 bags of fertilizers for planting, and we have started receiving more fertilizers. From yesterday, we received 750,000 bags of fertilizers from outside, and this week we'll be receiving another 750,000 bags of fertilizers also, and then mid-January we expect to receive another 1.5 million bags.
Well, that story leads us to a short commercial break right here on Checkpoint. Do stay with us. As we come back, we shift focus to Sudan, taking a look at the emanating humanitarian situation in that country. Keep it Checkpoint.